Biden's administration is under fire for refusal to condemn Iran.
Let's bring in Brent Sadler. He's retired Navy captain and former Pentagon official. Thank you, sir, for joining us on this Labor Day. Greatly appreciate your insights. I want to start with the murder, the execution of this American hostage, Hersh Goldberg Poland, who spent 332 days in captivity. And the execution happening while Americans are actively working toward his release, towards the release of all the hostages and this ceasefire deal. What do you make of the boldness of that action on the part of Hamas, and what should the response from the United States be?
Well, I'll start first with the U.S. response. This was an act of terror on the behalf of Hamas. And so there needs to be a lot more condemnation and pressure applied to Iran, who pulls the strings and also supplies Hamas, but then also a lot more direct pressure on Hamas from the U.S. It's telling that the first comments are that Netanyahu needs to do more when they are the aggrieved party in this case. But as far as ongoing military operations, efforts to release the hostages, these are extremely risky. And again, that comes with the risk of what we saw just unfold this weekend, where Hamas gets a tip off or has enough time to unfortunately harm its hostages.
Yeah, unfortunately, the murder of these 6 hostages in particular has galvanized and sent people to the streets once again in Israel, Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, all across the country. And his mother, Rachel Goldberg Poland, spoke today. It was raw, it was heart-wrenching, but among the things that she said to her son, who has, of course, now been murdered, "I pray that your death will be a turning point in this horrible situation that we're in." Could the execution of these 6 individuals somehow be a turning point?
Well, when I see the protest in Israel and from friends that are in country and in the region, there's several things that are behind it. There is a long-standing animosity to Netanyahu and his right-wing government, which predates October 7th. There's frustration with all parties in Israel with the incompetence that the IDF was unable to prevent and safeguard Israelis on October 7th. And so that also is an issue. And then the final is, despite months of military operations, the IDF has not been able to destroy Hamas, nor rescue more of the hostages safely. So all of this is coming together on top of the desire for those with loved ones that are being held by the terrorist Hamas to get them back safely. But at the end of the day, there has to be a world that's free from this type of barbarism and horrors that have been put on all people, also the Palestinians, by a group like Hamas. And to get to that, I think there's still a lot of hard fighting ahead. And there's not a lot of confidence that negotiation with a group like Hamas is going to be fruitful. It hasn't been since 2008.
Yeah, we're waiting to hear from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He may be speaking soon, so we're waiting on that. But there is this picture out of the White House from the Biden administration of Vice President Harris, of President Biden, of other American leaders in the Situation Room, as it's called, looking like they're working, particularly on this. What do you make of this picture? What's the message they're trying to send? Does it change anything? Is this a message of strength that they're trying to portray?
I'm not sure it really sends much of any message other than that they came in on a weekend to discuss a national issue where an American citizen was killed by Hamas over the weekend. It's less clear if there's going to be any new grand negotiation because Biden has not put more pressure on the parties on the table or changed the dynamics on the ground. And until the IDF and Hamas actually finish their fight, I don't see much changing that's going to have a breakthrough on the negotiations. So photo ops don't really give much.
It's interesting, the reporting out of Israel, this is the Times of Israel, but this is something that's been going back and forth all across Israel and the media. The back and forth between the leadership in Israel, pushing back on Prime Minister Netanyahu's insistence on holding this corridor in the south, the Philadelphia corridor. And Defense Minister Yoav Gallant in the Security Council meeting said the fact that we prioritize the Philadelphia corridor at the cost of the lives of hostages is a moral disgrace. They're rather openly having a bit of a back and forth, at least in the Israeli press, on military strategy, on negotiations. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I would defer to the actual operational commanders that are trying to execute operations to destroy Hamas. And then secondly, those forces that are engaged in trying to locate and release the hostages safely. And if that Philadelphia quarter is critical to that, then I think on firm operational grounds, then I think the Israelis should not give in to that. But again, it's the operational commanders that should be deferred to and not the political leadership of the IDF.